In this lecture, we'll be discussing about the economic system, tribal policies, and the concept of tribalization under the tribal society. Let us begin with the economic system of tribes. So there was a study, and according to that, T.N. Madan and Majumdar talked about the economic system of tribes. So what could have been the economic system of tribes? We know that it would be very different from the kind of economic system that we have in a civilized society. For example, there would be use of ancient means of mode of production. They will not be using a lot of technology, innovation, and there would be barter system. We all have studied about barter system where there is an exchange of goods and in the place of services or goods itself. So this is a kind of ancient mode of production and ancient kind of economic system. There is no profit motive. See, there is no consumption in the tribal societies. The aspect of consumption is a feature of the modern society where the consumers have become very driven for a particular standard in the society, so they yearn for a standard of living in the society. For that, they produce things that are according to some level, some standard, and people consume things unconsciously because they want to be a part of the society, they want to become a part of the elite group. Therefore, there is profit motive when the goods are produced. Next is cooperation. There is a lot of cooperation because there is a lack of competition. When there is a lack of competition, only then there can be so much cooperation among the members of the society. Otherwise, in the kind of society that we are living in today, the contemporary society, there is so much competition, there is so much of ego that people are not willing to cooperate, they're not willing to bow down, they're not willing to sacrifice. It is always about putting oneself first. Next, production for consumption purpose. There is no surplus production per se. They are producing because they want to consume. So if they are going to consume 10 kilos of something, they will only produce 10 kilograms of that commodity. Next is no dominance or competition among each other. Next, lack of regular market, because their society is very different from the contemporary modern society and there is no regular market policy or situation there. The last one, an important one, is absence of monetary value of property. In the cities where people are murdering each other for the sake of property, where there are so many ties in the same family due to property, the monetary value of property is missing when we come to the terms with tribes. It is not present there. Now, occupation of tribes. What kind of occupation do they indulge in? So, there's a list of tribes and the occupation they are engaged in. You can take a screenshot of this and maybe learn it later. Now, we'll be discussing primarily in this lecture about the changing tribal institutions. How the tribal institutions are changing. It is not the same as it was years ago because we are also trying to integrate the tribals into the modern society. First is reasons. How is this change occurring? Why did it occur in the first place and why the changing situations are still there? First, impact of missionaries. The missionaries had a very important role to play because first, they tried to convert the religion of many. Second, they brought about with themselves the reasoning behind converting to a particular religion and educating themselves. Next is industrialization. With industrialization, many changes occurred and they also affected the tribal societies because there was a participation from that society as well. Democracy. Democracy called for the participation and representation of all the people equally. Reservation. The Constitution of India provided the reservation policy to many of the tribes so that we could include them in the mainstream society. Transport and communication. With the Emergence of technology, transport, and communication, everything became accessible. Therefore, and with also industrialization, and when it comes to producing things, many of the people they set up their industries near the tribal civilization. Many of the people get resources from the tribal people. Many of the tribal people are working for the people who live in the modern society. Therefore, there is a communication between the people, and because of easy access, because of transportation, this also became easier. Modern education has also an important impact on the changing institution of tribal society, where many people want the tribal societies to integrate with the mainstream society. Land reform movements and cooperatives also have a role to play, where they have discussed about the various rights of the tribes and how they should also get a life with recognition and identity. Now, in the changing institutions, we are going to discuss a concept of tribalization by S.L. Kalia. He said that tribalization is the process of becoming like a tribe. When one caste or one group adopts the values, practices, ideologies, and starts practicing them. Okay, so when they are taking all of these qualities of a tribe and then they practice it, what are they doing? They are becoming like the tribe. For example, food habits. For example, if a tribe is eating a certain kind of meat and the other caste people or the other group, they also start eating the same kind of meat. So this is something that is, they are practicing something, they are following something, and they are on the process of becoming the same tribe. Next, status determinant. In status determinant, we'll discuss the potlatch ceremony to determine status. It was prominent in the Kwakiutl tribes of Northwest Pacific Coast in 1849, and it went on till 1925. In this ceremony, the people used to throw away all of their possessions into the sea, and they used to boast about how much wealthy they are, what kind of possessions they have. So it was a ceremonial distribution of property and gifts. In this way, they gained social status. So you see how we studied in the feature of tribes that they do not have any social status. But gradually, as things started changing, they used certain ceremonies to determine the status. Next is political system. What kind of political system is there among the tribes? There can be two types. In one situation, there is an absence of formal head, that is the cephalous political system. And the second one, sorry, I said that wrong. Cephalous is where there is the presence of a formal head, and the second one is acephalous, where there's an absence of formal head. There is no formal head present. So these are the two political types of system. So naturally, in a cephalous kind of system where there is a political head, where there is a formal head, he gets to make the big decisions of the society. And where there is no head, the people, they cooperate, and on the basis of mutual understanding and agreement, they come to a value consensus. Tribal policy. There were certain tribal policies in India. We'll discuss them one by one. First is by Warrior Elvin, that is the policy of isolation. He argued that there should be tribal parks and there should be a strict no interference policy. He talked about this in the tribal Panchsheel on the lines of Jawaharlal Nehru. He introduced his own tribal Panchsheel when he studied the Baiga tribe. He mentioned this in his book, The Tribal World of Warrior Elvin. So he believed that tribals should be left alone, there should be no interference, and they should do what they are doing and should not be disturbed. Next is policy of assimilation. So G.S. Ghurye, on the other hand, he said something totally contrasting, and he said that tribes are backward class Hindus only, and therefore they should be assimilated among the Hindus. Why should you keep them alone? You should assimilate them into the mainstream society. And the last one is policy of integration. The policy of integration was introduced by the government of India and said that the identity of the tribes should be preserved and should be kept autonomous. Therefore, they should be integrated into the mainstream society for their own development so that they become educated, skilled, and employed. But they also mentioned at the same time we have to prevent and preserve their identity, their culture, and their autonomous institution that they have. So we have to preserve that. Let us discuss some questions. Who studied the Kshatriyas of Dehradun and observed tribalisation? The answer will be D.N. Majumdar. The concept of tribalisation was given by Kalia, and D.N. Majumdar studied the Kshatriyas of Dehradun to observe if there was tribalisation or not. Second, who said when tribe loses its boundary, it becomes a caste? This is a very famous quote by Weber. So I hope you got this lecture. Thank you.